Okay, today we're going to be using PBJuice paddleboard juice to clean, polish, and protect a paddleboard. It's a very basic process. It's a three-step process. The first step involves having a slightly damp washcloth or rag, and you apply just a little bit of the polish, maybe a quarter size or a dime size piece to the rag, fold it over, and begin the application on a certain area. Typically you want to work in small areas, maybe a 2 by 2 foot section, but that's certainly up to you. And you're basically wiping on this polish in north, south, east, west direction. What it's going to do is take off any contaminants on the surface, any scuff marks, any rack rage marks that you've gotten from transporting your kayak or storing your kayak. It will not take out paddleboard. It will not take out any scratch marks, deep scratch marks, but it'll lessen the impact of them, as this board is a demo board. It had a lot of deep scratches and rack rash, as we call it, and it actually will take out some of that. But if the scratches are deep on your paddleboard or your kayak or canoe, it's not going to take out those scratches. It's not going to fill in any paint. But what it will do is leave a clear acrylic protective coating on the surface that it's applied to. As you can see, we're working this in a north, south, east, west direction, and just trying to work the polish in as much as possible. You'll also notice we're doing this in the direct sunlight. The warmer the surface, the better. The paint pores are more open, and you really shouldn't have to work too hard on this because you shouldn't have a lot of contaminants and things like that in here. What he's actually doing is trying to get some scratches out. I don't know if I can zoom in on some of those, but there were some pretty major scratches on this board because it was a demo board. So what we're doing is applying this, and the other positive thing about the application of this product is that it'll make cleaning this board in the future much easier and leave it a little bit less susceptible to scratches and scrapes and things like that. So even if you have a brand new board, it's best to put this polish on a brand new board for the protection that it'll offer from the sun and also again from scratches and things like that. The paddleboard juice will again last for probably months. It is very impervious to salt water and sun. It'll certainly help protect your board from fading, and you'll be able to note that it is, if you just do a part of it, you'll note that the part that you've done doesn't retain silt and other contaminants as much as an untreated portion of the board does. So again, you're not using a lot, but you're just applying it again in direct sunlight with a damp cloth until you're satisfied you've cleaned the area sufficiently and applied a nice coating. It dries to a clear protective coat. It is not a wax. It will not yellow. It will not fade after a week or 2 weeks. I've seen this on other services last up to a year. And of course, most of these boards are used in salt water, so you may not get quite that length of time on it, but as a maintenance, you can wash the board in between major cleanings with just some plain water and a couple tablespoons of the PBJuice. It is water-based. There are no abrasives in it, so it's not going to leave any swirl marks on your board. It's just going to leave a clear shine once you're finished with the polishing process. So we're about done there. The second step is to take another cloth that's just wet and apply a water sheen, a sheen of water. And I don't know if you can see this or not, but we're not rubbing very hard. We're just putting water on the board that we've just polished. What that does is sets the acrylic, and then after you've finished putting the water sheen on, then you take a buffing towel and just buff out the area that you've just finished polishing. So just do a little bit at a time and just work your way down the board, and in a relatively short amount of time you will finish your board and you won't have to do this every time like this. You could also use a random orbital buffer if you wanted to with the same process, applying it with a wet rag. And you can see now we've basically restored a very good shine to this. If you were able to feel this, you would note that it's very, very slick and will stay this way for an extended period of time. So that's paddleboard juice on the end of a paddleboard.